pockets?
Wow, wonderful question. Pocket friendly is what you're talking about.
Yes, yes.
I would say, for example, Pride Inn, for example, where I am, we have actually put this together. We have Pride Inn in Diani, which is a boutique hotel, not on the beach, but a very high-end hotel that is pocket-friendly, but you get value for your money. We have Pride Inn Nyali, Pride Inn Mombasa Town, and all those. Those are, we branded them as comfort hotels. Okay. And then we have the luxury hotels, where there is Pride Inn Paradise, and in Nairobi, Pride Inn Azua Towers in Westlands Road. Those are high-end. So depending on your pocket, you would go to hotels like that. And then also, it's not only Pride Inn, but even other industrial players have done the same. You know, people have come in with the Airbnbs, where people would go to the coast, but still access the beach, still go for lunch to these big hotels, and it is working. So it is really all around. Every Kenyan can actually go for holiday. It's only the notion they have that the big hotels are not for locals. Yes.
So that is something you're working towards changing?
It is. Actually, the change is already there. It's only that the awareness. We need just to create awareness that it is there. But the change is already there.
The change is already there. That is positive news. Let's talk about collaboration in the industry, because the hotels can be there, but maybe Kenyans cannot access them. Some want deals. So there are these companies like the bonfires, you know, that give people such deals. How is it working for the industry, and is it assisting the industry to grow?
I must say, you just rightfully mentioned bonfire. You know bonfire. Why? They came up with a solution of making Kenyans travel. These are the tour providers, Bonfire Adventures, name them, Paulman's tours, A&K Safaris, Sense of Africa. All these travel agents, Kobo, they help Kenyans to know where they can go. One thing is, like, for example, you would want to travel to Mara yourself. How do you reach Mara? You will think Mara is very far and it's difficult to reach Mara. But the government has done a road network that you can reach to the gate. Then when you reach the gate, you can be picked by land cruisers inside the park. They take you for game drive, and you come back and pick your vehicle from the gate and return to Nairobi, and you have seen Kenya. You see, it has become easier. Before, you would not even access Mara because you needed a 4x4 Land Cruiser for you to access because of the road network. So that is one of the things that has helped. Now, the travel agents like Bonfire Adventures and all that, they have come up with the packages that they will sell to people to go to Mombasa. Why? When you are in your office, you don't have time to plan transport and everything. They come in as a solution into what Nakumat used to say, all under one roof. So they make it all under one roof. They do for you ticketing, they do for you transport, and then they do for you hotel bookings, and then return tickets. So you go and you find yourself back to Nairobi. So that's how they have come in, and that's why we work closely with the travel agents and the hotels.
You've mentioned the road in the Mara. There has been a concern about infrastructure that leads to these tourist destinations, especially, leave alone the Mara, maybe in the other counties that are trying to develop their tourism sector. What is it that the government can do, both the local, the devolved units, as well as the national government do, to improve infrastructure to support the tourism sector?
Very good question, and this question has come in a very good way, because the last 2 weeks I had gone to some of the counties just to travel and see what are the opportunities that we have to promote tourism in those countries. Our managing director has a vision of trying to have a property in each of the counties. So being the business development director, I went around to try to see what we can do in other counties to bring up tourism. And to be very honest, some counties have a rich culture that is not tapped. But because of lack of devolution working in the counties to help them come up with the good infrastructures to tourism, people to go there, it is a problem. The other time, you remember, there was, I'll give an example, there was the Council of Governors meeting in Kakamega. Where were the clans sleeping? All of them were going to Kisumu because there is no hotel in Kakamega. So what is the county government of Kakamega doing? What about Bungoma? What are they doing? What is Kitale doing? Eldoret is coming out very well. Kisumu has come up very well, but still there's a lot to be done. So there is a lot of need for the government to actually also expand tourism in these areas. Like the Western Circuit, we always talk about Western Circuit. There is a lot of things you can see in Western Province. You have heard of the Crying Stone. What about it? You need to reach there to see. You don't only need to read. And a white man comes all the way to go to Kakamega, read it, because he can afford to go and come back. So what we need to do is the county government should also, within their ministries that they set, come up with a kitty that will improve tourism in the counties. Yes.
When you talk about the counties and infrastructure, the other day when the transport CS was being vetted, he mentioned that he will ensure there is an airstrip in every county. From where you sit in the industry, is this feasible? I mean, I have talked to people in the the aviation industry. They say that maybe not in all counties, but expansion is definitely important. So how would this assist the industry?
It will assist the industry, but it is ambitious to say you can have them all at this time. I would think a few selected being Kenyans, we have the big towns that we know. How would you say you'll create an airstrip in Kisii? Without any problem. It's a bit crowded that they need something to be done to have something like that. So they need to create airstrips whereby it will be closer to reach the other counties as fast as possible. And also Kenyans, if you want to see some of the countryside, you also need to use the road network for you to be able to see. If you are always flying, you will not be able to know. If you're going to Mombasa, do you see, have you ever seen Makueni by air? You can't. No. You have to go by road to see it. How do you see Voi? You have to go by road to see it. So it's important for us. And that's how SGR became. Why do many people use SGR? Because they are able to kill it all in one. Yes. Right.
While we are there about aviation, I mean, the KQ strike, we cannot avoid mentioning it. It has ended. Finally, the losses have been counted. But for Kenya as an attractive tourism destination, how is that going to impact us, maybe even in the short term, considering that, I mean, the festive season is here?
You see, one of the things is, let's go by the name first. What is KQ known about? The pride of Africa. So when we go to strike, what are we trying to tell people? Are we still the pride of Africa? Then we go live on TV and we say, we are giving Ethiopian airline to assist us. Are we not handing the competition what we had? There is a better way that we should solve some of these things as Kenyans. And I feel the KQ issue was a really bad thing, because many people who are going to Mombasa for meetings and everything lost their time. Meetings were cancelled because of this. So I would think it's important, the management of KQ, to come up with a better strategy of averting such a things other than washing dirty linen in front of the public. Yes.
You think that this could have been done in a better way?
Yes, it could have been done in a better way. Yes.
That is very important. Well, we hope that that does not happen any soon again. Yes. Right. So the industry, apart from the targeting Kenyans in terms of the festive season, how do you ensure that there is all year round travel or all year round offerings for Kenyans, as well as even the international market?
You see, one of the things is that Kenya is known to be a very good tourism destination in terms of in Africa. The only problem is we do not tell the people exactly what we have in Kenya for them to go around. You see, European countries have winter, summer, and all that. So we all know them about that. What about Kenya? What have we advertised Kenya as in different seasons? Like, you will always ask a Kenyan, you say, you want to go to Mombasa, you say, I want to go in the low season. What is the low season? There is no low season in Kenya. It's only us who have a perception to create this as a low season. Because December, everybody is going to Mombasa. It's high season because everybody wants to go to Mombasa, Masai Mara, and Nairobi is down because people want to go and relax.
Yes.
Then, when you go to Mombasa, when people are leaving Mombasa, those who had gone for leisure, those who are supposed to do business are supposed to go back to prepare for business. So what we've done is we have prepared, like us, we have prepared seasons in a different way, and we have named them different seasons, like mid-season, where people know what they are going to do in Mombasa, like May, June. It's a rainy season in Nairobi, and everybody says it. And that is the peak season in Mombasa because people are going to plan for the next year's budgets and all that. So people want to go to conference rooms and plan that. But now the biggest challenge is the government gives a tourism sector sometimes, I would say, a raw deal. They give us and they remove it. They say, now, the other day we just saw in the newspaper and they were saying, do not use 5-star hotels. Do your meetings in the boardrooms. What happens to the staffs who are in the hotels? Do they go home? So in terms of when they are cutting cost on one side, they are trying to improve, bring food to the table of people, and they are telling people not to go to the 5-star hotels. They are making these people to run in poverty because they'll have to go home. If these people are not going to use the hotels will have no business. So what is happening? So we should structure this thing. Before we make a rule, let's think about the others. Government is thinking about saving. When they are saving, they are affecting somebody who was gaining from that business to gain food to the family.
Very interesting thoughts you have there. Let's talk about what you just mentioned a little bit earlier, the branding of the Kenyan tourism sector. You've said that we have not sold ourselves as we should, really. I mean, the most that people know Kenya for is safaris and maybe the wild beast migration and Mombasa for the beaches. There is so much more that is yet to be explored. What, in your view, should Kenya Tourism Board and all the other sector players do to brand Kenya in a better way and sell us for what we have, not for 1/3 of what we have?
My opinion is that the new minister for tourism should call the stakeholders within the industry to help her come up with a better strategy on how to market Kenya to the international world. The biggest problem that we do is that we market Kenya by a verge of hearsay without involving the stakeholders in the industry.
Okay.
Some decisions would come within the industry and you wonder, how did someone come up with that? Because if they involved the people, it'd be easy. And the people, the one who's wearing the shoe knows where it paints. So if they involve the people on the ground, it would be much better. Yes.
Involvement and participation.
The participation of the stakeholders in the industry. The owners, the top management, those are the people who knows where we are against others. We normally go out of the country to the world trade markets like WTM in London, IBM in Germany, and you see what other countries are doing and all that. They come with their culture and all that. We have gone to these places, we've gone with our culture. Most of the time we go with our culture of the Maasai dance. The world has heard about Maasai dance for long. What else are we going with to make them know that it's all that? And we must be proud. The Maasai culture has made Kenya to be known, to be very honest. But even the Ronaldos of this world, when they get old, they need other people to take over. I'm using that because I can see you have a World Cup.
Yes, for KBC.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Now, talking about that particular branding, as Kenya is looking to brand itself as a destination, we have competitors from the region. We share the same climatic conditions, you know, so most of our offerings are actually the same. For instance, the wild-beast migration, we share it with Tanzania, you know. So how can Kenya differentiate itself from the players in the region in terms of packaging itself and putting itself out there to say, you know, if you want to go to East Africa, go to Kenya, not Tanzania, not Uganda, go to Kenya?
Wow. Do you work in the tourism industry? That question is very good and on point.
Thank you.
Let me be honest with you. Kenya is only lucky that Kenyans are hardworking. That is the only difference between Kenya now, Uganda and Tanzania in East Africa. They are a bit slow in terms of reaction and activation, and Kenyans are quick. We are 24 hours, they are still 12 hours. The day they will wake up and know they need to be 24 hours, we'll have a run of our money. So Kenya must use the advantage they have and not to sit and say we are the top. They must become innovative. And that's why I mentioned earlier, involve the stakeholders in the industry, let them come up and create. There was a time they created, the minister, the outgoing minister, Najib Balala, created a cost working group just to revamp tourism when there was a big problem. And it happened. That really juggled the industry to do. Next week, we are hosting Ugandan Tourism Association to Mombasa. Why are they going to Mombasa? Why are they not doing it in Uganda? They're coming to Mombasa. We are happy they are bringing business to us, but they are coming to tap into some of the things. Tomorrow, when they are ahead of us, we will be wondering what happened. Because we are not. So let's go out there and ensure that we are not in a comfort zone. Yes.
We are not in a comfort zone. Yes. We need to rethink our product.
Rethink ourselves. Think out of the box. Yes.
In terms of marketing, there are new channels of marketing nowadays. I mean, there was a time when maybe TV and print were the only channels that you could reach your target consumer. But the digital platforms are very big right now. And in terms of showcasing how the country looks, the young people play a really big role in that. How is the industry taking advantage of these, and are you involving any, let's call them influencers as they are called in the social media platforms? Are you involving any influencers to ensure that Kenyan tourism looks great out there and is reaching the right people?
Yes, we are. Like as Pride did, yes, we are. And I have seen other industry players, like-minded, Sorova, Baobab, name them all. They are doing the same. But the youth are very good with online promotions and all that. Influencers are the way to go. But the only thing is, what are we influencing? Are we doing repetitive things? Are we innovative? Are we coming up with the new ideas? Like, for example, I gave you an example of Masai Mara, where everybody thought for you to go to Mara, you must have a Land Cruiser. They did not know that you can actually go with a Vitz up to the second-hand gate, leave it there, then the people in the park pick you from there and take you to the national park, and you see all the wildlife and you come back. And when you tell friends, they will ask you, which vehicle did you use? You just say, my Vitz. You see, this is lacking out there. People don't know that you can do that. The moment they know, Masai Mara will be a hub. Masai Mara was named one of the 7 wonders of the world. What happened again after that? We've never heard about it again. Because we did it at that time and we were the yes, there we go. And then we have gone to, we relax and we say we are one of the 7 wonders of the world. And that's it. So we need to think out of the box and come up with something else. What are we doing about Amboseli? Why are we leaving Tsavo to die? Tsavo is one of the largest national park. Why are we leaving Tsavo to die? We moved all our focus and took it to Masai Mara and forgot about Tsavo. Amboseli is known for having wildlife. What are we talking about? Elephants? Now we are only talking about how many elephants died, instead of telling people what benefits are there. So that is where we are. So is it a lack of budgeting? Is it that there's no innovation? Where is the problem? Wrong marketing and targeting of certain events. You see, even in your house, you don't cook ugali every day. You want balanced diet. Let's have balanced diet in the hospitality industry. It's really needed. We need to check what are we doing, at what time, at what level, how. What if we came up and started promoting Tsavo in January? Then Masai Mara, because we know it's, why do we always say migration in Mara from July? Why? Because it's coming there. So what do we do for Tsavo? So that people go to Tsavo, we are going to Tsavo, then we are going to Mara. Why, when I ask you for holiday, where would you want to go for holiday this festive season? You will likely tell me you want to go to Mombasa, if it's in Kenya. If it's not in Kenya, you'll tell me you want to go to Dubai. If it's not Dubai, you say you want to go to Maldives. Why not England? England, you want to go when you're going on business. But you want to go for leisure, you want to go to those places that have something to do. So what are we promoting to those areas? As I said earlier, if the Ministry of Tourism involves the stakeholders, we are good to go.
Repackaging,
Yes.
rethinking of our product. That is what Jackton Amutala is saying. He is the Group Director in charge of Operations and Business Development at Pride In Group. We are talking about matters tourism. It is the festive season. What is on offer for Kenyans? What is on offer for the international tourist? And just how to ensure that tourism is running all year round. No lows and highs, just highs all the time. Well, we would like to listen in to an event from the Treasury buildings. Our reporter Karen Jenga is on the ground. Let's just listen in to those proceedings.
A tweet about the public hearings on the 10th to 12th of January. We will be expecting to conclude that process of preparing the sector budget proposals by 18th of January, so this should be done. But we will also be convening a meeting with the sector conveners and co-conveners immediately as soon as we leave here, so that we are then able to also agree on the guidance that they will be giving the sectors as soon as they convene. So we hope that the sectors will convene as soon as possible to also develop their own roadmap that takes these timelines into consideration. Chair, I think in terms of the way forward, that is how I see it. And finally, just to say that unlike the previous launches, today we have consolidated everything. Yes, we didn't have the usual health break, and the usual surprise is not there. Thank you so much. The Chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, Honorable Ndindi Nyoro, my Cabinet Secretary is had to go, as we had said. I want to appreciate and acknowledge him in absentia. Professor Jugona Ndungu, who is the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury and Economic Planning, he spoke earlier on. My colleagues who are here, thank you, colleagues, also who have made the presentation. You've heard from the budget man. Mr. Nyona is our Director for Budgets. So in the spirit of trying to make sure that we constrain public expenditure, he has brought out the key aspects of the budget making process, which is very tight in terms of the deadlines, and also the fact that we were not able to have a break, and we will not also be able to serve the usual niceties that we normally do. And so that we can just close and really appreciate us for good timekeeping, I want to open the session for one or two questions, which I want to ask if we can keep them short and also relate only to what we are discussing today. We can take those 2 or 3 questions. Going, gone. So thank you very much. Do have a good day. Asanteni sana.
have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
Hey guys, Sanaipe Itande hapa on Pop Culture. Kumbukeni kutizama KBC Channel 1 exclusively showing the World Cup 2022.
Don't do anything stupid. You are under arrest for drug trafficking. Yes, sir.
Welcome back. You are watching BizCheck on KBC Channel 1. My name is Betty Kiptum. In studio, we are having a conversation about tourism in Kenya, specifically the festive season. What is happening? How is the hospitality industry preparing to, of course, deal with the influx of tourists, and as well as just how to make sure that they are making the most and making sure that tourism is all year round. This conversation is with Jackton Amutala. He is the Group Director in charge of Operations and Business Development at Pride Inn Group. Thank you for staying with us, Jackton.
Thank you.
Kenya lost quite a chunk of its tourism market during the COVID-19 period for many reasons, most of which were not within Kenya's control. Moving forward, as the industry is recovering, how is Kenya now packaging itself, or what should the government do to bring back the lost markets?
Thank you. People, not only Kenya, but even more of African countries, what was regarded to be tourism was foreigners coming to the countries. And that brings foreign currency to us. You can see how our dollar is going high because of lack of foreign currencies and all that. So the best way is that the Kenya should again readjust itself to go and look for international, to go internationally and market and say we are safe, because many people are afraid of COVID issues, Ebola issues, and you know, in Europe, sometimes when you go there, they think Africa is one country. So if they hear about Ebola, they will think it's even in Kenya. So the best thing is for Kenya to go and create awareness to those countries. And what do they need to do? To send a delegation to go there and do a roadshow. Ghana and Nigeria are doing a roadshow just to tell people what they are about. What is Kenya doing? If I already know Ghana and Nigeria are doing that, what is Kenya, my country, doing for itself about the same? They might be doing something, yes, but who knows? So they need to talk to the people, let the Kenyans be aware what they are doing to improve. We have seen the drought has affected the country. What areas affected? Wildlife. They are dying. What do foreigners come to see here? Wildlife. So they would not want to hear that wildlife is dying, and it's one of the source of tourism to Kenya. So we need also to look into that to see how we make sure the wildlife is not dying. And that's why the Minister for Tourism and Wildlife has a huge task to handle this matter, to ensure that Kenya out there is again back to its original fame. Kenya is known. You go anywhere, they say you're Kenyan. Kenya was actually known because of two things: athletics and wildlife. Nowadays, we are more going towards athleticism only and not wildlife. So wildlife in Kenya, it is key. And that will come through where the president has said conservation. Plant more trees so that we have the water in the country, our catchment area good, then wildlife will not die because there will be enough water. I was in Nyeri for the first time. I'm a frequent visitor to Nyeri, and for the first time I saw Nyeri is dry like Isiolo. Why? And Nyeri has a lot of trees. So what is making Nyeri to look beautiful is because of the trees. And when the rain comes back, it's back to normal. So if we ensure that we keep our environment, and we promote out there, show that Kenya is still safe. COVID was worldwide issue and not Kenyan. And then we'll go out. And we should, and also I would want to say the media. Let's also help the industry to grow. Something small happens in the industry, when it's put out there, it actually blacklists us outside the country. Because when we show, for example, something small that has happened in the industry, it actually paints a bad picture. So we would rather paint the better pictures for people to come more than painting the bad one. I know with media, bad things are news.
Well, I think the media industry is really doing a lot to support the tourism sector. There are quite a number of programs just showcasing destinations. Here in KBC, we have Magical Scenes by Irene Muchuma. You know,
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
it's been running for a decade, and it's done a really good job at showcasing Kenyan destinations. Yeah, the marketing of tourism, unlike the FMCG sector, it's a long game. For most people, what you maybe see today, you will visit that place 10 years to come.
Correct.
For young children, what they see on TV, on their parents, you know, their parents doing, they might do it when they are grown-ups. So when you even see like an Arsenal jersey reading Visit Rwanda, yes, the implications of that will be felt even in years to come.
Correct.
So why is Kenya not taking up such opportunities and just ramping up its efforts internationally?
Thank you very much. And I must say you are very good in terms of what is going on in tourism in Kenya. Why should I say that? You have just mentioned something right. You go to England, you will see Emirates Stadium Bridge, visit Rwanda. Those people are reading about visiting Rwanda. Where is it written, visit Kenya? Which country, leave alone the England? It is not done that. And that's why I'm saying the issue, the era of being one-man show ended. Involve stakeholders in the industry. People will come up with ideas, and they will be the greatest ideas that we can sell our country to the world. And we will be known. Kenya, and I repeat, is a very good destination, has a lot of rich culture that people would want to see. But now, why don't we just create Eldoret to be, you know, you go to Eldoret, it's written home of champions. There's I think Nandi is home of champions, source of champions, and all those. But who knows about it? It can also be a tourism attraction. People just to come and see, where do these people come from to conquer the world? Okay. And that's where what we need to promote. Even when they are going to the stadiums, why can't we just write something about Kenya for people to see? We just win, but there's nothing written Kenya apart from our flag.
All right. Jackton, we are out of time. I'll give you only 20 seconds to tell us, maybe in one sentence, your closing remarks.
My closing remark is festive season is here. 20 Pride in. Look for your opportunity now and not tomorrow. Visit Pride in Mara, and also you can visit the country by side because it's tourism week. Tourism week is now.
Okay.
If you wait for festive season, it is now.
It is now. Thank you very much, Jackton, for sharing your thoughts with us. I have been speaking with Jackton Amutala. He is the Business Group Director in charge of Operations and Business Development at Pride Inn Group, and we have been talking about matters tourism. We now want to take you to Kisumu, where the Institute of Surveyors of Kenya is hosting its 7th ISK Africa Regional Conference. The theme is Smart Surveying for Improved Land Governance. Let's listen into that. All right, thank you so much.
And how we are going to roll it out will be Google indicator for the government to be able to monitor and see how that is being actualized. Now, I want to narrow down to a land monitoring initiative at the regional level that is being done by the Commission and being spearheaded by the Ministry of Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development, and also the National Bureau of Statistics. We have also members from the court, that is the Environmental and Land Court, because of the land conflict matters. And we have the Directorate of Remote Surveys and Remote Sensing, who are looking at the issues of land use and land cover analysis over time and what is happening to our different land uses. We have also the non-state actors, FIDA, which comes strong to look at the issues of gender in land, and also the State Department of Gender. So the main aim of this study that is ongoing is to look at some of the land actors and how they are going to contribute to the African objectives, the African Union. So it is at regional level for the 8 countries that are within the IGAD region. And we also now customize it to the country level, where we are collecting data for monitoring the different indicators that I will mention as we move on. So the main goal is to improve the land governance in Africa. And when we talk about improving land governance, then we have to provide an enabling legal and institution framework. And here we are looking at the various institutions, the roles they play, the various indicators that they should be able to be monitored, and whether we are having enough legislation framework to support. And where we have gaps, then how the gaps will be addressed. For example, now that the National Land Policy 2009 has already expired and is ongoing the review, then it is important for us to look at what are the main things that we are going to put in. The second one is effective and efficient implementation of the land management and administration, and also looking at the equitable access to land and related land resources. When you talk about access to land, we look at whether when we have conflicts, of course, they hinder access to land, and that is where the ELC court is coming in, and we want to see how it can be fast-tracked, the issues of conflict resolution. And then strengthening the land tenure, security for women. Here it is specific for women because, of course, we speak about gender, but then the issues of gender and land, when it comes to our society, we know that we feel like women are not owning as much land as men, but however, they may have access. But it is good to look at all the policies and the involvement of them in production of women and youth. It is critical for us as we move as a country. So why is it important for us to do the monitoring? It is important for us to monitor because it's only when you monitor how you're progressing that you know where to make improvements. And these are improvements which may be in the law. They could be improvements which could be in some guidelines, so that we can be able to see the impact that they have at grassroots level, and whether it is a positive impact that we would want to escalate, or if it is not a positive impact, then how can we be able to change for it to be effective and address the agenda for the government when it comes to land governance. The other important significance when it comes to monitoring, of course, is to look at success and failures of policies which are there and issues that are not working out, so that we suggest recommendations at the regional level, and they can be cascaded to the member states, countries, for them to be able to effect. And the other advantage is also to be able to have the knowledge and capacity building, sharing between the member states within the region, so that we can be able to maximize on the strengths of another country and look at how we can be able to cross-learn, so that effectively we are moving forward as a region. And also it is important to be looking at emerging issues and priorities, so that over time you are reviewing your indicators as you monitor to be able to address the emerging issues and also the government agenda as it's coming up. So the main objective of this National Land Monitoring Initiative is to be able to first establish the existence and the extent of policy formulation at the national level, and also other policies in different sectors that the land indicators are touching on. It is also important, especially, to look at how we improve the land governance. That is the main aim. So with our devolved structure, especially in matters of survey, physical planning, and so on.
That is Dr. Mary Wandia from the National Land Commission there, speaking at the 7th ISK Africa Regional Conference happening in Kisumu. She is saying that there is need to ensure that land issues are sorted out, so that land governance is just maintained in the country. The theme of that particular conference is smart surveying for improved land governance. Our reporter Weekly Fokech is on the ground. He shall be filing a report on the proceedings of that conference in a little bit, in our subsequent bulletins a little bit later, starting at 1 p.m. We want to get back to our conversations in studio. We now switch gears to matters horticulture, and to have this conversation we are joined by Stefano Sedola. He is the EU Chief Technical Advisor for Markup Kenya. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Yes, I hope I got your name right.
Yeah, you got my name right, and I am the Chief Technical Advisor for the Markup program, a program dealing with horticulture in Kenya, and it is supported and financed by the European Union and implemented by UNIDO, United Nations Industrial Development Agency. I'm very happy to be here today to discuss with you and share what we are actually doing in Kenya.
Well, let's just start with a little bit of numbers. The Horticulture Directorate yesterday said that the industry is set to lose about 20 billion shillings in earnings this year because of many issues, one of them being the Kenya Airways strike, as well as the drought that is ongoing. So I want to hear from you, what are the emerging issues in the horticulture sector?
Yeah, you touch a very critical point. The issue of the drought in Kenya has been affecting the horticulture, but the whole agriculture business. And I think this is climate change will affect adversely the horticulture activities, and a message we can convey to the leaders in at the COP27 in Egypt currently is that we need to put centrality of water and agriculture to the climate crisis. It is fundamental we address this issue of water accessibility. Now, this is not the only challenge that the horticulture sectors are facing, and what we have experienced is that there are post-harvesting losses, meaning that the produce that comes from the field and ends to the table of the consumer or goes abroad is lost in between. And there are figures, they say it's up to, in the horticulture, 44%, which is a lot if you think that the 44% of what is produced is get lost, either because it's not handled properly or because of a quality issue or food safety concern or standard, or lacking of compliance of standards. Now, I wonder, these figures are from 2011, and it is the reference figures now for Africa, for Kenya. I think probably things have changed since then, and I'm really curious to know why we are not measuring that more adequately and ensuring that the traceability from the farm to the table, from farm to fork, is not better measured, to actually measure these losses in revenue for the farmers. That's what we are trying to do within the program, is to have an impact on the local communities, to improve the way they produce, increase their revenues as farmers, connecting to the market, creating market linkages, but also working with the regulatory institutions centrally, at the central level, to ensure that the standards are properly adopted and implemented, that the testing facility and laboratories are accessible, that the risk assessment is done correctly, and also that there is coordination between the different agencies, so that there are not duplication of different certificates or registrations.
For Kenyan farmers to access international markets, of course there are some standards that have to be met. How is the program working with farmers to ensure that they are up to standard, or whether their produce is up to standard? And when you talk about the 40% post-harvest losses, how can those be prevented, and what tangible things are you doing at Markup Kenya?
Thank you for asking. It's a big problem, and but the big problem is sometimes they can be addressed with small steps. And our philosophy is to connect with the communities and have an impact with the communities, at the same time support the central agencies. And I can tell you the story of Veronica, a farmer from Busia. She's growing groundnuts, and she was growing for subsistence. Thank you. And she was able, after following some training and capacity building, actually to commercialize her products and to become enter into the trade. And this is because she applies some standards such as Global Gap. There are other standards we are working with. Global Gap is one of them. And so small actions, or for example, working with the extension officers in the counties, training them not only to understand what are the complexity and the challenges in the horticulture, but also actually to become themselves the teachers and the tutors, and enlarging the knowledge to their farmers, to help their farmers. And I was talking today with 10 of these extension officers from different counties of Kenya, and they said, you know, they thank us to be able to empower them, could give them tools, give them knowledge, so that they can actually support their farmers. And they were saying, after we learned, we trained, we were able to support 300 farmers, 400 farmers in another county. So that effect multiplies by itself, without us being there.
Without you being there. For the farmers who are, most of the agriculture in this country is rain-fed. They depend on the rain, and of course with the impact of climate change and the weather patterns changing, how can farmers adapt themselves better?
I mean, we don't control the weather, right? And unfortunately we see a devastating effect in the global south by the climate crisis. And I think that more mitigation measures, such as preventive measures, can help. Now, today, technology enables us to prevent the pest. We know that, for example, we can predict a pest coming on the basil leaves within 2 weeks, the occurrences. Now, using satellite images, using some simple artificial intelligence application, using and discussing with colleagues here in Kenya, there are many researchers that have published papers, they have developed applications, and so it is possible. Technology helps us to predict, and by predicting, to enable the farmers and to take better decisions using data. Problem is that, like, technology needs to be deployed, disseminated. So maybe there are good applications, good tools, but they're not used because we need to change the mentality. There is another important aspect, I think, is that in the farming world, people are over 50. Now they are less concerned with the future rather than, but we push young people, young generation, to go into farming, and we have created a very interesting podcast for youth. It's called Mazao Talks. We encourage the listeners to go and check it out on the major podcast platforms such as Spotify and others. We encourage youth to take a step, to take leadership in agribusiness.
In agribusiness, I like that you've. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, and that will help address the issue of climate, because youth are more concerned about climate because it is their future.
When you mention about the young people, the actual average of a Kenyan farmer, the average age of a Kenyan farmer is 63. So that means there's quite a concern in terms of bringing young people onto the platform. And what some stakeholders have said, it is making agriculture attractive. And how can that be done?
Today our friends and colleague from Carlo said, fruits are sexy. And there are some fruits that are more sexy than others. Mango are very sexy. And passion fruits are sexy. And I think that, and now in Europe we are actually looking at eating more fruits and vegetables because of the health. We are more concerned about the health. We eat more, and so this will see a growth in fruit and vegetable consumption. But then, and so I encourage, and then there are revenues. It's a profitable business, the horticulture. So youth can actually enter into and make money. But not only that, they can use technology to make more money. And youth are interested in technology, but they can apply to farming and improve their revenue, their yields, and become better, create better revenues, basically. And yeah.
All right. So in terms of creating better revenues, especially in terms of horticulture, there is the place of value addition, especially to just stop the post-harvest losses. I mean, value addition will make sure there's a longer shelf life for these products. How can farmers be supported, whether it's in terms of cooperatives or just individual farmers? How can they be supported to venture into the manufacturing bit of agriculture?
Is a valid point, and you're making here is value addition is key. For example, you have mangoes, a lot of mangoes in Kenya. You cannot all, and they're competing with fresh mangoes that are maybe of better quality coming from other countries, Pakistan, for example. But the value addition, you can dry mangoes. You can dry mangoes, and there is a huge demand on dry mangoes, or dry pineapples, or dry snacks. Dry snacks now they call it, not even dry fruit, dry snacks, and this is very popular all across Europe. And but in order to do that, you need machine. You need trained people as well. And for that, we can learn from the countries that succeed very well. For example, Ghana has been exporting dry pineapples all over Europe, and they are very successful at that. But they receive a lot of foreign direct investment. So you need to invest. Wherever invest in machineries, in plants, in processing plants. Without that investment, it's difficult to compete on the international market. So my call is for investors, facilitate investors to bring technology into the countries for processing and creating value addition.
Facilitation of investors. You mentioned a bit about the extension officers. There's a very there's a high importance in terms of information that farmers have when they're doing their craft. And Kenya has a shortage of extension officers. What do you think the government can do to ensure that there is more awareness or information channeling to farmers? Because once you are informed, you can produce better, do better.
Yeah. I think we saw that we were with our own hands by talking to the extension officer of the government. That they said for the first time we were able to be farm assurer accredited under the global gap. And he said this is very useful for us because we can really help like that. Now, if you give us the tool that the extension officer told us, we can actually support the farmers locally. Now, so I think that we need to support the extension officers at the county level as much as possible, providing them tool, capacity building means to actually disseminate the right knowledge, because farmers by definition they are very conservative. In my village I've been trying to explain to the farmers that they should change crop because planting sunflower seeds may not be the most profitable yield. But they tell me, why we should change. We have been doing that for the last 25 years, 30 years, 50 years. And my father was doing that. And there is no way to make farmers change their mind unless other farmers or other person from the same community actually explain them that there is an advantage and there is a case. They can make more money, they can make better profit, better yields by improving their methods, changing the crops, using clean planting materials, for example. This is a big issue they've been facing with.
Let's talk about the conference that is going on right now at Safari Park, the Fruits, Vegetables and Herbs Conference. What does this conference aim to achieve? Yeah,
well, this is basically to identify and share challenges that industry, farmers, extension officers, government and agencies have in the field of horticulture. So it's all about sharing stories, sharing experiences, sharing knowledge, and about with practical example, practical stories, practical initiatives that how they have addressed the challenges we've been talking. But, for example, I was one of the things that came across was about the clean planting materials. Now, if you want to the farmers, normally they buy off the streets, the different, and they ask, is it crafted, the seedlings or the plant? Yes, but then when you go home and you plant, then the sexy mango that you have in mind, or the passion fruits that is big, nice and juicy, then it becomes very, very small and tiny because the plant was not, the clean planting material was not properly done and with the proper procedures. And,
right. All right, just allow me to cut you short. We want to take the viewer to Egypt, where O'Brien Kimani is covering for us the COP27 conference. So, Brian, what do you have for us?
I'm on standby. Well, thank you very much, Betty Kiptum, back here in Broadcasting House. It is day 4 of the climate change talks here in Sharm el-Sheikh. The last 2 days, there has been intense conversations around how to finance climate project. And of course, African countries have been of the opinion that it is high time that we deepen financing towards a green project. Yesterday, the European Union said that they will be working with the African nations to see how they can ramp up their funding towards a green project. And some of the projects that have been highlighted here are projects in the energy sector, and there was special consideration for African countries to deepen their production of green energy, especially on solar, on wind, and of course on geothermal. And Kenya has been very categorical that going forward, all 3 energy projects that they are going to undertake are going to be focused on the renewable energy. Another issue that was discussed yesterday on how to make infrastructure projects in Africa more sustainable and to ensure that the contribution of green gas emission is dealt with, bearing in mind that the construction industry is one of the greatest emitters of green gas emission in the world. The other issue that was discussed yesterday and the discussion are ongoing on today is how to increase the land that is under forest coverage, not only in Africa but around the world. And African nations agreed that there is a need to ramp up more financing of reforestation and of course afforestation of bare lands in Africa. Kenya, of course, as we know, has set an ambitious program whereby they plan to plant about between 10 and 15 billion trees by the year 2032. And of course, we have had President William Ruto saying that that ambitious project will require strong financing, not only from the exchequer but also from the international community. So we are keeping tabs of what is happening here at Sharm El-Sheikh today. Of course, we also see the negotiations going on between the Africa Group Network and the European Union, as well as the G20 countries, on how to increase funding to African countries that are bearing the brunt of climate change. So those are the conversations here. Remember that we have been here since the conversation started, and we are not leaving this venue until the last conversation is concluded. My name is O'Brien.
Thank you very much, O'Brien Kimani there, coming to us from Egypt. He is covering the COP27 conference and, of course, quite a number of issues coming up. Top on the table is African countries demanding that the Western countries, including Asia as well, which is a big emitter of greenhouse gases, just ensure that they are increasing their green financing to enable Africa adapt and survive the climate change that is impacting the continent the highest. O'Brien Kimani, of course, will be filing a report on what happens today in those discussions, including with the EU on matters green financing, in our subsequent bulletins. In studio, we are with Stefano Sedola. He is the EU Chief Technical Advisor for Markup Kenya. Stefano, before we get back to our conversation on the conference, you have heard what O'Brien has just said. Do you have any comment on that, in terms of the conversations that are happening at COP27?
I think, as we were saying before, the centrality of the water and agriculture in the climate crisis is definitely a message that we need to send across, and we need to our leaders, they need to take care of our the water crisis that is affecting the horticulture and the agriculture. And the technology, again, can help. Technology innovation can help us there, but we need to take a stand.
Right. So before we joined O'Brien, you were talking about the Fruits, Vegetables and Herbs conference that is ongoing and the impacts or what we expect from that conference. Kindly go on.
Yeah, I think the most important way to we learn by exchanging experiences, and we learn through the stories of other people. I think this is what the message that we wanted to share in the conference, and this conference is about sharing stories, experience, how other people have successfully managed to address the challenge in horticulture, whether it is post-harvesting losses, whether it is about pesticides, whether it is clean planting materials or creating market linkages. And there are plenty of different stories that participants that are helping to visualize and explain their journey into that.
Explaining their journeys and, of course, learning from each other, very important. So as we move forward with all the challenges that the sector is facing, what do you foresee for the sector?
I think I mean, there are many areas of intervention and cannot be tackled all at once. But what we are going to do is that we are going to strengthen now market linkages with those exporters that have been able to demonstrate the ability to export to European markets or regional markets. And we are going to continue the work with extension officers to engage the farmers, to increase the number of farmers that are engaged, so that we work at both ends of the value chain.
Mm-hmm. For maybe a farmer who is listening, what does it take to be able to access the international market? Because I know standards are very different. There are a number of batches of products from Kenya that have been, stopped from entering the market because of lack of meeting the standards. What can a farmer do to position themselves rightly?
Yeah, today the certification and the standards are as important as the product itself. So focusing only on the product is not enough. Mm-hmm. I think the farmer, they need to understand that certification, compliance is as important as a good, well-ripe mango.
Mm-hmm. So it's focusing on the whole business, not just the product.
Yeah, because, for example, when aflatoxins are very dangerous for the human health. They give cancer. Today they were saying 30% of the liver cancer are due from the aflatoxin. I don't know if that figure is correct, but anyway, there is evidence of the cancer. But a mice, that is a grain of mice affected by aflatoxin, they look perfectly fine, but they are poisonous. Mm-hmm. So it's not enough. A good-looking product is not enough.
Yeah, a good-looking product is not enough. There's, of course, more that you need to do as a farmer. So as we come to a close of this conversation, I would like to give you 30 seconds to give us your closing remarks on this matter.
My closing remarks, well, first of all, thank you for having me here, Betty. It's really great to be able to share my experience. And my closing remark is that basically I want to encourage the youth to take and uptake leadership in the horticulture business. I think there is a great potential, a great opportunity, and to use technology to increase revenues.
Mm-hmm. Use technology to increase revenues. Of course, the young people in this country are quite tech savvy, and you've been told use that technology to increase revenues, enter the horticulture industry. There is quite a potential and big markets for you there. Of course, you have to position yourself right, ensure you get the right certification, and your product is up to standard. That brings us to the end of this check this particular morning. Thank you very much for your valued company. My name is Betty Kiptum. You can link up with me on Twitter. I am at Betty Kiptum. KBC Channel 1 is the Twitter handle of the station. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing. Bye-bye.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
Hey guys, Sanaipei Tande hapa on Pop Culture. Kumbukeni kutizama KBC Channel 1 exclusively showing the World Cup 2022.
Don't do anything stupid.
You are under arrest for drug trafficking.
Run him in after you. Yes, sir.
The spirit of human connectivity is sweeping across the world. It is a feast for the senses for over 3.5 billion viewers. This is FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022. The tournament showcases the world's best players, exceptional abilities, skills and breathtaking talent. Africa is being represented by 5 teams: Senegal, Tunisia, Morocco, Cameroon and Ghana. Be part of the unifying legacy of world's greatest tournament, which is made of the dreams of every young player, of the passion of every fan, the dedication of every team, and the pride of every nation. A select 28 matches courtesy of FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022 will be an exciting showpiece on every level imaginable, from Sunday 20th November 2022 through to Sunday 18th of December, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Nuria committed serious felonies, which includes 2 murders, an attempted murder, and a kidnapping. We're looking at many years.
It's
great. Quite probable that she will spend the rest of her life in prison.
This is for you. Who sent this? Your attorney asked me to give it to you. If you want to have what is mine, you need to be a Madrigal. You're my son.
We need you to testify that the money Mr. Madrigal used to buy his shares of Malva Hotel stocks was illegally acquired.
I really wish I could take revenge on Lionel.
Are you certain of that, Gonzalo?
Absolutely.
Aren't you just telling me all this
I'm telling you this because it's the truth. I have a tumor. It's malignant. It's cancerous. And I assume that this tumor could kill me without any warning.
I am king and country. I am supporting England.
Me, I'm supporting Morocco in Africa, and in the world, I'm supporting Brazil.
Tony is those guys who has blue underwear, but on the other side it's yellow.
Sasa
akivaa siku mbili anaipindua.
Ama ni duvet.
Leave my duvet underwear alone.
It will be great to na team kama Africa. Senegal imefika finali imechukua.
McDonald. He came across as someone who's a bit confused. The association with betting.
Strongly disagree. I don't know where Bonnie Bet is getting this moral high.
He disagrees with the bet. Yeah. It takes 4 years to prep.
And KBC is ending the drought across the country.
Across the country. Yes.
Shukran sana kwa kusalia nasi na kuzidi kutazama runinga ipendayo ya KBC Channel 1. Ni wakati wa kurunzi mashinani, lakini kwanza kabla tujaanza taarifa hizi, ni miongoni mwa taarifa ambayo tunaifuatilizia mtazamaji, ambapo kuna warsha la 7 ambalo ni kongamano linaloendelea katika mji wa Kisumu la Masorovea, ikihusisha maafisa kutoka Wizara ya Ardhi. Na kwa sasa hivi mwelekezi wangu anaendeleza kwamba gavana wa kaunti hiyo Anyang' Nyong'o anazungumza. Hebu tusikize ni yapi anayoelezea.
Kisumu boys is sitting and Kisumu girls is sitting who are a county land. Fortunately, they are lucky, they are a government land. National government, that is. But even national government should pay rate to the county government, but that's another issue. Supposing they were a county land, would we really afford having